Welcome back. We're still speaking about that motion of no confidence against the KZN Premier that did not pass in the legislature this afternoon. We're now speaking to Mike Mabuyakhulu, who's the ANC KZN coordinator. Mr. Mabuyakhulu, thank you so much for joining us this evening. So we just spoke to the MK party spokesperson, and he described today as a legislative integrity that has been aborted. What's your take on how things played out today?
Well, good evening, Katlego. Good evening to the viewers. Well, I must say that today started quite very well, and everybody was respecting the rules of the legislature. What then turned out later, after the conclusion of the debate, is in fact was an unnecessary spectacle, and to put it mildly. And to be honest with yourselves, those of us who were in the legislature, saw something that was very shameful and very disgraceful. When members of the legislature who have taken an oath of office to uphold the rule of law and all of laws of the land, as well as the Constitution of the Republic, started becoming unruly and behaving in a manner that was threatening the presiding officer, in particular, not only the presiding officer, but the secretary of the legislature. Now, what was even more disgraceful was that senior leaders of the MKP from national level were sitting in the gallery, and some even at the provincial level were there. We saw nothing on their part to intervene and to relate a message to their members to behave and to uphold the rule of law. We're a rules-based society. We're not an anarchy. And therefore, what happened today is very, very shameful. And we're hoping that the legislature will take a very stern action. Because when the presiding officer makes a ruling, no member of the legislature has a right to behave in the despicable manner that members of the MKP behaved today.
And that ruling of the vote being done by an open ballot and not necessarily a secret ballot was because the MK party had come forward and said that there were threats that had been received by some of their members. They even claimed that some of your own members had also received some of those threats. An analyst argued that the presiding officer may have been legally correct and well within her rights to make that decision. Do you think she was morally correct in making the decision that she made?
Not only was she morally correct, she was also legally well-reasoned. She articulated her reasons. She actually quoted case law. She was able to do a comparative case analysis of what had happened in the National Assembly, and therefore that even the decision of the Constitutional Court. In fact, I, as an ordinary citizen, I learned a lot out of her ruling. So therefore, even if they were not in agreement with her ruling, she did say they have a recourse. We're a country that is governed by a rule of law. And when members who are lawmakers behave in this manner where they don't respect their own rules in the first instance, but secondly, show the whole nation that a woman presiding officer, including the secretary of the legislature, would actually be threatened by members of the legislature who most of them were men, who were charging forward to the secretary of the legislature, and for doing what? For reading out what the electoral outcome was, the votes that were counted.
And I mean, Nhlamulo spoke about this process, and he says that it was illegitimate simply because the MKP did not vote. What's your take on that?
And who understands how legislatures normally operate. You have a right to vote for and against, but you also have a right to abstain. What then the speaker did, she actually not only showed tolerance of the process, but she showed patience. She actually proved her credibility today. Why she is a speaker that is impartial. A speaker that was able to tolerate for the longest of time when MKP members, who were seen by the whole country, by the way, were not making up this on television, who actually were able to disrupt legislature for a very long time. So eventually, the matter had to be put to a vote because the debate had been concluded. Now, Mr. Ndlela can say whatever he likes to say. South Africans, the provinces of KwaZulu-Natal, and all of us not only did we see for ourselves, but we saw in the anarchist. And we saw that if this province were to fall in the hands of these people, then it means South Africa will be doomed.
And does it mean that the 45% of the people in that province that voted for the MK party to occupy 37 of those seats would see that province being doomed had the MK party been the ones to lead that province?
That like you actually show yourselves by your own actions. Probably we could be speculating if we have not seen what has happened. We now know for ourselves, the country now knows for itself. The voters and the electorate who voted for the MKP, they have now seen what they did not know. And I'm not actually putting voters at fault in this. The voters exercised their democratic right, and they were perfectly correct to make their own choice. Now, but what they did not know is what they are actually voting for. For today, whole of South Africa no longer is second-guessing what does the MKP represent, particularly in KZN. We've seen for ourselves. They are the anarchists. They are the disruptors. And in fact, they've actually proven to all of us that they don't even respect the house that is meant to be the highest lawmaking platform in the country, the legislature. So if you don't respect your own legislature, where you must make laws, where you must govern, how are you going to lead province of KwaZulu-Natal? I think they've actually proven all of us correct, that we were correct, to allow that there must be a government of provincial unity that is constituted by all other parties who want stability in the first instance, but secondly, who are about the real issues of the people. And since this GPU for 19 months has been in office, it has shown stability in KwaZulu-Natal. We have increased the levels of investment. Now we then say to our people, you have seen for yourself what you may not have known on the 29th of May 2024. You now know what you actually elected. And we think our people are not going to agree with anarchy.
Lastly, Mike Mabuyakhulu, I mean, some have argued that if the GPU was so sure of itself, it would have gone into a secret ballot voting process and possibly the outcomes would have still been the same. Do you think this says a lot about the state of political stability within the KZN province?
But Lecho, we mustn't make this a sideshow. Number one, 2 of the MKP members in their seats, they were empty, sitting there. The MKP has got 37 seats, even if all of them were present. 2, the other party that actually also had supported their motion had 2 seats. Now, in the debate, all of the other parties clearly indicated a rejection. Now, where would have been the majority they are speaking of? In the legislature, any member who disagrees with the motion would have stood up and say, I then agree with the vote of no confidence in the premier. There was none. Now, I don't think we can hide behind a smoke screen. The MKP has been proven for what it is and what it represents. It represents anarchy. It is an organization of disruptors. It doesn't respect even the highest office in the land of being a member of the legislature, which is the biggest honor any citizen can give to any of his own. I think they have actually been able to write their own history today, and we have seen that history ourselves.
All right.
Unfortunately, it's a very distasteful history.